for souls to feast upon!
Hey everyone, it's Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and for today's video, I will be continuing my several month-long series of videos where I will be unboxing and upgrading the Commander precons that were released over the last year. I continue with the second of the 4 Warhammer 40k precons that were released in October of 2022, and this video will cover the Ruinous Powers precon that has Abaddon the Despoiler as the suggested general. So, first things first, let's look at what Abaddon does. Abaddon costs 1 red, 1 black, 1 blue, and 2 generic mana to cast for a 5/5 legendary Astartes warrior with 2 abilities. The first is Trample, which helps the second ability because it needs damage to be dealt to an opponent for it to work. The second ability is called Mark of Chaos Attendant and says during your turn, spells you cast from your hand with mana value X or less have Cascade, where X is the total amount of life your opponents have lost this turn. This ability seems kind of weak to me, even though the Cascade ability can be quite strong if done right. I say this because the Cascade ability on Abaddon is dependent on if your opponents have lost life while also being limited by the amount of life lost, and at first glance, that seems like it could really mute the ability by a lot. My initial impressions before looking at the other cards are that this deck will probably have some very high mana values for the spells just to get the Cascade part to work, and that it will always be slow to start unless they included some very good ramp options, which I doubt because there is no green. Again, that's just my initial impression without actually seeing the deck, so rather than speculate, let's just open this bad boy up and see exactly just what's in the box. Who knows, maybe I'm wrong and I'll be pleasantly surprised. So here's what the box for the Ruinous Powers looks like. It's just a box. Here's what's on the other side of it. And we're just going to open it up and take a look at what's inside. Just like the last video I did last week, I'm going to show you all the cards inside, show you all the contents inside. And remember, this is a little different than the ones that I did last time, so we'll take a look. So this is what it looks on the front side for the package inside. And then on the back side, obviously, we've got the stuff. So the deck box, which I'll put together in a second, and then the actual deck itself, which for some reason is trapped. So there are chits or counters for whatever you want to do. And then the little ones that I use, the bigger ones for dividers. I don't know what I'm going to do with these yet, and I said it before. If you have an idea, let me know, but I'll worry about them later. Here's the box for this version, or this deck. Like I said in last week's video, I like that they went back to the stand-up boxes, the upright boxes, instead of the Sidewinder-style boxes. And then we got our life counter, which I believe this one will go to 40 on this side, which it does, and then 20 on this side. So that's our life counter. Our little insert. The insert doesn't really have a whole lot to it. They used to have like little play mats that are paper. They weren't really good, but they don't have that anymore. And just some information on the deck. So nothing spectacular here. And then we have the deck, which is the main feature of what we got. So let me zoom in just a little bit and open it up, and we'll go from there. So, all right. And I always have a problem opening these up because I don't have any nails. So I can't actually get to the part that's separated. So let's split the deck in half because it's a little easier to wield when you do that. I've already gone over the commander that they've suggested for this deck, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see the cards. It's Abaddon the Despoiler. Again, I explained it to you just a little bit ago. This is the one that they recommend as a secondary commander. It's Bellicor the Dark Master. It is red, black, blue, and 3 for a 6/5 flyer. It has 2 abilities. Prince of Chaos. When Bellicor the Dark Master enters the battlefield, you draw X cards, and you lose X life, where X is the number of demons you control. And then the second one is Lord of, does that say Torment? Yeah. Whenever another demon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target, which makes me wonder if this could be a demon tribal deck for the upgrade guide. So let's go over the deck and see what we got, though. All right, I'm only going to read off to you the cards that are not reprints, and I'm just going to tell you what the reprints are. So Heralds of, and I think that says Tzeentch, I don't know how to say it, is 5 to cast 3/3 flyer with Cascade, and Cascade is one of the abilities that this deck tries to do a lot of. However, after going over the list before opening this, I'm not really sure that it does it very well. What's this? This is Nurgle's Rot. It's a 1 to cast aura enchantment. You enchant a creature an opponent controls, and when enchanted creature dies, you return Nurgle's Rot to its owner's hand, and you create a 1/1 black demon creature token named Plaguebearer of Nurgle. So I actually kind of like that card. Let's see. Blood Crusher of Khorne, if that's how it's said. It's a 4 to cast 3/3 trample, and then it makes all other creatures you control trample. Chaos Terminator Lord is a 4 to cast 3/3. The ability is Lord of Chaos. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. Herald of Slaanesh I guess that's how it says, Slaanesh. 3 to cast 2/2. Has an ability called Locus of Slaanesh. It says demon spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, which is nice. It's a semi-lord. And then other demons you control have haste. So not a full lord, because most lords in Magic give +1/+1, but at least it gives other abilities. There's a goblin that does something similar to that. Next is Noise Marine. It's a 5 to cast 3/2, has Cascade. And then it has an ability called Sonic Blaster. Whenever Noise Marine enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn to any target. So it plays on the Cascade because Cascade is counted as casting spells. Seeker of Slaanesh is a 4 to cast 3/3 with haste, and it has the ability that each opponent must attack with at least one creature each combat if able. The Lost and the Damned. It is a 3 to cast enchantment that says whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control from anywhere other than your hand, or you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you create a 3/3 red spawn creature token. Bile Blight. It is a 2 to cast instant that says target creature and all other creatures with the same name as that creature get -3/-3 until end of turn. This is great for token killing, and the deck I did last week had a lot of tokens, so this is obviously a choice for that reason. Bituminous Blast is a reprint. It has Cascade and deals 4 damage to a creature. Assault Suit. It's 4 to cast. It's an equipment. The equipped creature gets +2/+2, has haste, can't attack you or a planeswalker you control, and can't be sacrificed. And then at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have a player gain control of the equipped creature until end of turn, and if you do, untap it. So in a lot of the Commander precons, they had enchantments that did something like this. This is the artifact version. Obviously, a Soul Ring comes in every Commander deck. The ramp section that they did with Mana Rocks is the Talismans, apparently, just like they did in last week's deck. This one's the blue-red one, which is Talisman of Creativity. Talisman of Dominance is the blue-black one. Talisman of Indulgence is the red-black one. And then we have Worn Power Stone. That's a reprint. Baron Moor. Crumbling Necropolis, naturally, because it's a 3-color deck. Oops, skipped one. Molten Slag Heap, because this deck has a lot of high casting cost stuff. I guess this is their answer to that. It wasn't really the greatest option. Temple of the False God, again, not a great option. Brainstorm, nice reprint. Dark Ritual, interesting addition because of the high casting cost of everything in here. I guess that was needed. Deny Reality, it's a Cascader. It's also a reprint. Commander Sphere, because it's a 3-color deck. Wayfarer's Bauble, so you can go get the land that you need for mana fixing. Command Tower, that's a nice picture. I like the picture on this one. Dismal Backwater, Evolving Wilds. Lord of the Change is a new card, so it's a 7 to cast 6/6 flying and ward 3. And then the ability says when Lord of the Change enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards. So that's why the casting cost or the mana value is so high. Blight Grenade, another card that I like to. I ordered a bunch of for budgetary reasons. It's a 5 to cast sorcery that you can destroy a creature, and then all creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn. So if there's a creature on the battlefield that is higher than a 3 toughness that you just need to get rid of, you destroy that, and then everything else gets -3/-3, so they all die too. Or at least if they have 3 or less toughness. Great Unclean One is 5 to cast for a 4/5, and its ability says at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 2 life, then each opponent who has less life than you, and for each opponent that has less life than you, you create a 1/3 black demon creature token named Plaguebearer of Nurgle. Mandate of Abaddon, 4 to cast for a sorcery. It says choose target creature you control. Destroy all creatures with power less than that creature's power. So this is the opposite of the one that was in last week's deck, where it was destroy all creatures with power greater than the chosen creature. Mortarion, Demon Primarch. So it's 6 to cast for a 5/6 flyer. Its ability says at the beginning of your end step, you may pay X. If you do, create X 2/2 black Astartes warrior creature tokens with menace, and X can't be greater than the amount of life you've lost this turn. Nurgle's Conscription, it's 5 to cast. It's an instant. You put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control, and then you exile the player's graveyard. Plague Drone, 4 to cast, 3/3 flyer. If an opponent would gain life, each player loses that much life instead. Poxwalkers, it's a 3 to cast 3/1 with Death Touch. I think this is a reprint, but I can't remember. My memory's kind of gone. And it says whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you return Poxwalkers from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So definitely a nice little graveyard self-recurring creature. Does that really say Sloppity? It does. Sloppity Bile Piper, 4 to cast 3/3, has a ability called Jolly, what did I say? Gut Pipes? I think that's what it says. Anyway, you pay 2 and tap it, and then you sacrifice a creature, and then the next creature you cast this turn has Cascade. So, I mean, it follows the Cascade. It very loosely follows Cascade in this deck. I don't know why it's so loose. I guess because Cascade isn't that prominent. What's this? This is Tallyman of Nurgle. It's a 3D cast 2/3 lifelinker. And at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. If 7 or more creatures died this turn, instead you draw 7 cards and you lose 7 life. What do we got here? Venom Crawler. It's a 4 cast 2/2 lifelinker. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Aspiring Champion, 4 cast 3/3, has Menace. And then when Aspiring Champion deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into your library. If that creature is a demon, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So I'm seeing 2 separate themes here. One of them deals with demons, one deals with Cascade, and it's kind of tough to decide which way I want to go in the upgrade guide. Bloodthirster, it's a 6 cast 6/6 flying trampling demon. It says whenever it deals damage to a player, untap it. After this combat, there is an additional combat phase, and it can attack a player it's already attacked this turn. So extra combat's always nice, and it's a demon, so it's actually pushing me towards maybe doing a demon tribal finally, since it's one thing I've wanted to do. Dark Apostle, 4 cast 3/3, has Gift of Chaos. You pay 3 and tap it, and the next non-creature spell you cast this turn has Cascade. Keeper of Secrets, a 6 cast 6/4 first striking haste demon. And whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Keeper of Secrets deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. If that was each opponent, that would be a little better. Karn, the Betrayer. It's a 4 cast 5/1. Looks like 3 abilities here. Not good ones either. It must attack or block each combat if able. Then when you lose control of it, you draw 2 cards, and then if damage would be dealt to Karn the Betrayer, prevent that damage, and an opponent of your choice gains control of it. So, I mean, I see the uses, I just don't like it. Personal opinion, though. If you like it, that's fine too. Knight Rampager, it's a 5 cast 6/5 Trampling Knight. This says at the beginning of combat on your turn, you choose an opponent at random, and it attacks that player if able. And then when it dies, it deals damage to target opponent, 4 damage to target opponent chosen at random. A lot of changes in this deck. I can see them coming. Let the Galaxy Burn. Love the name. It's 1 red, 5 of any, and then X, and it cascades. And then it says, let the Galaxy deals X damage +2 to each creature that didn't enter the battlefield this turn. So it's a weird, caveat to the card, but I love the name. Blood for the Blood God. Love the name of that too. So it's 1 red, 2 black, and 8. So I think that's 11, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's 11 mana. But what the spell does is pretty good. It's an instant that says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature that died this turn already. And then you discard your hand, then draw 8 cards, and Blood for the Blood God deals 8 damage to each opponent, and you exile it. I like the card. It's got a lot of upside and a lot of downside. Downside being it's a lot of mana to cast, unless you're killing a lot of things. Chaos Defiler, 5 to cast for a 5/4 Trampler, and says when it enters the battlefield or dies, for each opponent, choose a non-land permanent that player controls and destroy one of those chosen at random. So you choose, one for each opponent, and then I guess you flip a coin or you Rochambeau for it, and then that thing dies. Chaos Mutation, 5 to cast, instant, exile any number of target creatures controlled by different players. For each creature exiled this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card, puts that card onto the battlefield, then puts the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order. So they reshuffle and put them on the bottom. Draknien, I guess that's how it's said. 6 to cast, it's a legendary artifact equipment. It says whenever it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target creature. And then it equips for 2, and it says equipped creature has Menace and gets +X+0, where X is the exiled card's power. Exalted Flamer of, I'm going to screw this up, Zench, I assume is the name. 4 to cast 2/4. It is a demon that says at the beginning of your upkeep, return an instant or sorcery at random from your graveyard to your hand. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. This is my second favorite card in this deck. You could build a deck around this. In fact, I already have. I actually think that this will go in one of my decks that I have made, and it will be an upgrade guide for one of those. Hellbrute, 5 to cast 5/4 haste, says you may cast Hellbrute from your graveyard by exiling another creature card from your graveyard in addition to its other costs. Self-recursion. All right, what is that? The Horus, or Orus, I don't know how it's said. Heresy, it's a 6 to cast saga. The 3 chapters are, Chapter 1, for each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target non-legendary creature that player controls for as long as this remains on the battlefield. Chapter 2 says draw a card for each creature that you control but don't own. And then Chapter 3 says, starting with you, each player chooses a creature, destroy each creature chosen this way. Another card name I love. Kill, Maim, Burn. 5 to cast instant. You get to choose one or more. So you can choose 1, 2, or 3. You can choose all 1, 2, or 3 of them. You can destroy an artifact, a creature, or deal 3 damage to target player. So the reason why they do that is because if there's not a creature or an artifact on the battlefield that you can target, it would fizzle. So they choose 1 or more so you don't have to worry about it. Lucius, the Eternal, is a 5 to cast 5/3 with haste. And then when it dies, exile it and choose target creature an opponent controls. When that creature leaves the battlefield, return Lucius the Eternal from exile to the battlefield under its owner's control. Magnus the Red, I believe this is the expensive card in the deck. It's 5 to cast for a 4/5, has flying. Instants and sorceries that you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature token you control. And then whenever Magnus the Red deals combat damage to a player, you create a 3/3 red spawn creature token. Kind of like that too. Now that says Mutalith Vortex Beast. It is a 6 to cast 6/6 with trample. And when it enters the battlefield, you flip a coin for each opponent that you have. For each flip that you win, you draw a card, and for each flip that you lose, it deals 3 damage to that player. So usually when you lose a flip in Magic, it doesn't benefit you at all. This is actually a pretty good card for coin flippers. Pink Horror, it is... No, I think this is the card that's worth the most. I don't remember. But it's a 5 to cast 4/4. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it deals 2 damage to any target. And then when it dies, you create 2/2 blue and red demon horror creature tokens named Blue Horror. With whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this creature deals 1 damage to any target. So, spell slinger style stuff, I love it. It's my thing. The Ruinous Powers. It's a 4 to cast enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you choose an opponent at random and exile the top card of that player's library. And until end of turn, you may play that card and you may spend mana as though or mana of any color to cast it. And when you cast a spell this way, its owner loses life equal to its mana value. I really like this. The reason why they use the play instead of cast is because you can play lands with this. That's a really good card. Xanagar Shaman, I'm assuming that's how you say that. 4 to cast 3/3 with flying. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you copy the next instant or sorcery spell that you cast this turn as you cast it, and you may choose new targets for the copy. And the last card in this pile is Past in Flames. This is a reprint. I actually used this in a couple of my decks, so it's a really good reprint. Back half of the deck, and I only say back half because they're just very big. This will have most of the lands. Decree of Pain is a nice reprint. Very budget-friendly. Blasphemous Act, a nice reprint as well. Chaos Warp, another multiple-time reprint. That thing's been reprinted more than I think basic lands have. Reverberate, another reprint. Warstorm Surge. I actually like this card. I use that in a couple decks. I think I have that in my Perforce deck. This reprint is the most needed reprint in Magic when it comes to Commander. Chromatic Lantern is one of my favorite mana rocks in the game, and you should be able to see why. It helps mana fix better than anything else. Exotic Orchard. Foreboding Ruins. Sunken Hollow. Forgotten Cave. Path of Ancestry. That'll be good when I change it over to a demon deck. Swiftwater Cliffs. Terramorphic Expanse. We've got mountains and swamps and islands. I like the picture on that island. And then we've got the thick version of the main commander. As you can see, it's a little thicker than a normal card. And it's actually a different type of foiling. And then you've got the tokens, which looks like Plaguebearer of Nurgle, a couple of them. And then you got Spawn tokens. Ooh, somebody should, if they're good at art, change that over to Spawn from Image Comics. Blue Horror tokens. Astartes Warrior tokens, and I think that's it. And an extra spawn, a couple spawns. So that's what was in the Ruinous Powers Warhammer 40k Commander Precon. I personally am not a fan of this deck right out of the box, because as I suspected, and stated at the beginning of this video, the mana cost to cast most of the cards sits in the 5 to 6 range, and for that kind of mana, I was hoping for more powerful effects, especially when you see that it has some cascade effects included. That's not to say that they are all bad or underpowered, though. I just feel that there are too many underwhelming cards for this deck to compete against some of the other precons that have been released recently. I'm not sure how it stacks up against the other 2 Warhammer 40k precons, but from what I hear, they are both better than the Forces of the Imperium precon, and I already believe that that one is better than this one right out of the box. With that said though, all is not lost, and you can improve this deck with a few changes. The cascade effect seems like an afterthought, and I do believe that changing the commander out for the secondary choice, Be'lakor the Dusk Master, would be a better fit. I believe that possibly focusing on a demon tribal theme, while either shifting the cascade parts a bit, or removing them altogether, could make for a more fun experience, so that's the direction I believe I'm going to go in for the upgrade guide. Anyway, that's all for today. but please be sure to join me tomorrow for the upgrade guide, and then again next Friday where I'll be doing this again for the Tyrannid Swarm precon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.